Welcome back to In the Flo podcast. I am so excited. Stephanie Stanton is here. She is a visibility coach from Connecticut, and I'm super stoked to have her on this episode. How are you today, Stephanie?
I'm so great. Thank you, Jessie, for having me. So happy to be here.
So in terms of a visibility coach, right? And I always talk about this on my podcast, but it's really weird to name ourselves, but I really love the idea of a visibility coach. So tell us a little bit about like what you do and how you do it.
Yeah. So I came to visibility. I've been everything. I've been empowerment coach, energy coach, all of it. And
Same.
I landed on visibility coach because I felt like it was the most me. I've been a photographer for over 20 years. I love branding. I love social media. I love marketing. So it was like helping women, be less afraid to stand out felt like the most exciting thing for me to do. So visibility coach was the way to explain it easiest.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that that's like a huge thing right now, right? Is like that fear of being seen, right? That fear of putting yourself out there. I mean, I remember when I first started my business, it was like every time I just like posted something, it was like I had to recalibrate my nervous system,
right?
Because there was this like innate kind of like fear of rejection, fear of being seen, fear of judgment, all of those things, right? Like, and that comes so much in the online space.
Right. We have, especially as women, like we have that like DNA fear because, historically speaking, women in their power have been persecuted, have been burned, have been, it's not been allowed. It is unsafe to stand out. It's unsafe to be seen in your power, especially with your innate spiritual gifts. Not welcome. So, every time we show up as healers, as light workers, as leaders, we have that fear of, is this safe? And I love how you said, like, recalibrate my nervous system. Yes. Like I've been doing this for a long time and I'm still, that hitting live comes up and it's like, take a breath, hit the live button. But it's just, I think I want to normalize that because I think women think that they shouldn't feel like that, or they wait until they're going to wait until they don't feel like that to start. And it's like, no, it's in us, men have a lot too. It's not just women. And we just we're afraid of being seen. And the more we do it, that confidence builds, that courage stacks. And until it doesn't, maybe we're nervous for like a second instead of a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you brought up the fact that like, this is something that, we've been working through as women for years and years and years and being seen. And we definitely are in a transition period, right? Where the divine feminine is rising. And everything's kind of coming to the forefront, but that, right. And normalizing that. When you said that, I was like, yeah, right. We have to normalize that idea of, it's okay to be afraid and do it anyway.
Right.
And I think that, we're coming into our own, right? Like I think about generations of women and like my grandmother, she didn't drive. She didn't work, there was a lot of things that women didn't do then that now, like we are the first and second generation of women actually doing these things again. So being powerful is also something that is actually new. And like, it once wasn't, and then it was, and then it was, and now it's new again. So I love that idea of just really being able to say like, yeah, it's not comfortable for everybody to jump on a live video, or it's not comfortable for us to put out our magic and our gifts because, we're scared of quote unquote persecution or, or rejection. And moving through some of that is definitely part of the transformation of being in the online space and being a coach or a mentor in the online space.
Absolutely. And I just did a live on this the other day. People ask me all the time, like why you became a visibility coach. And like, yes, I love to help women shine. And yes, I love to help people build their business and all that. But for me, like learning how to show up, because I was so afraid. Like my first videos were like, I was whispering, my friends in my office were like watching it, like, keep going. like I sucked. I was so afraid. And that process of like seeing myself on video and seeing myself with compassion and with kindness, and actually finding moments of like laughing, like I was laughing at watching myself, like, oh, she's kind of cute, you know, like that process, like expedited my self-love so much. I feel like I was really able to accept myself quicker. So for me, like my little selfish reason for doing it is like, that's what I really just want to help women. Like, let's get there sooner. Like, let's love yourself sooner now.
Totally. Yeah. And I think I love that. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know, why do a lot of, right? The question is like, why do a lot of people want to become coaches or spiritual light workers or whatever? And it's because all of a sudden you feel like you know that there is this ability to kind of create your own reality, and you kind of come into this new opening of, wow, like the world is going through a huge shift, a huge transition right now, and I can be a part of that, you know? And it's really interesting for me personally, right? And we talked kind of about this before you popped on, but it's like, once we enter into this work, it's not like it's just over and we're just like, all right, we got it. Like, it's cool. We're here.
There.
You know, there's still, yeah, there is no getting there.
Right.
And I think that that's really important for people to kind of like really lean into, because it's like the mentors that you choose aren't necessarily, you know, or shouldn't necessarily be the ones that be like, oh yeah, we know. Cause it's like, if they know, if they're there, then, you know, there's something that they're not showing underneath, because yeah, I mean, it's still a process for me to show up, you know,
favorite
in
people,
days.
like, you know, our mentor, like I was listening to Gina DeVee the other day, have like a total, like vulnerable breakdown. I'm like, Gina DeVee, like it's so easy to look at these people as like, they are just like living the high life. And it's like, it never ends. It's always coming. We're always meeting.
And we're always leveling up in those, right? And it's like, you know, I always talk about like contraction and expansion. And it's like, if we can view this not as a destination, but as like, are you really open to what's happening in your life? Are you really open to, you know, facing the challenge of somebody being like, I think that you're just showing off, and you being like, okay, what do I say when my biggest fear of showing up online actually happens? You know, and then you move through it and you're like, oh, okay. Like I can see, you know, I can see where I'm meeting my edges here and where I'm moving into that, such an authentic version of you, right? Because social media at its finest is, you know, this story of, you know, the picture perfect this or that. Highlights, and it's like, it's, you know, right, highlights. And it's like, when we can, you know, it's like really pulling clients in is about being that authentic self. Really pulling people into your space is about being like, yeah, it's hard, or, you know, it feels hard, right? Because I don't like to say things are hard, but it feels difficult. But at the same time, I'm just growing and growing and growing exponentially, and that's radical.
Right. And I love when you said before, like, are you really open to what's happening? Like, there's all these opportunities in this growth experiment to like, are you willing to not judge yourself? Are you willing to not judge yourself? Like we were just talking about before, about this, like feeling this like urge to like go sit by water, meditate, and take a fucking break from all, like, you know, from, you know, the entrepreneurial world. And it's like, and can you trust that and not judge yourself? Like, so easy to judge ourselves. Like, I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing enough. I'm not enough. That wasn't good enough. There's so much of that like involved in, you know, entrepreneurship. Like that's a fucking ascension trip, right? Like this is like totally. A really expanding, adventurous process. And we're constantly, like you said, meeting ourselves, like, and can you not judge yourself in it? Like always for me, like that's the biggest piece. Like, can I feel this and not judge myself for it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that when I think about that too, it's like, can you not judge yourself? And when we really get down to the nitty gritty of it, it's not about how much we're doing at all. And like, that's so hard for us to actually uncondition and unlearn. It's like, you know, obviously there has to be some structure and some consistency and some things that we do, but a lot of this is more, it's an energy, it's a flow. It's a
feminine flow coming, yes, right? Like in your words, like in your, like how the way you explain it so beautifully, which is I love your work, is like this, the feminine is rising, and none of us are really doing feminine energy well. We're really not, because we haven't had it role modeled to us. We haven't seen success really role modeled in that feminine way. We really know the productivity, the hustle, the go get 'em, the, grit, masculine way. And it's so, we don't trust it yet. And but a lot of us on this leading edge, we're just feeling like this isn't right for me. This doesn't feel right to me to just be doing all this doing. And
right.
It's, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like one of the biggest things that I say to my clients and to myself, it's like, it's not about what I'm doing. It's about who I'm being. And who I'm being is ultimately what opens me up to the power to receive. Because it's like, if I'm being this really open vessel of, whatever's happening, I'm here for it. And I open myself to receive, right? And this is another thing that, like, I know that you work on a lot with your clients, that it's like that ability to receive, the ability to receive clients, the ability to receive money, the ability to receive love, the ability to receive anything, right? And I really love the book, The Surrender Experiment.
Ooh, I gotta write that down.
Yeah, it's so good. And it's basically just about and the untethered soul. I don't know if you've ever read that. I talk about it on every podcast.
Another synchronicity. I just picked that up this morning to take it to the beach today.
Oh, it's my favorite book. Hands down, it's my favorite book ever. And I'm literally always telling people to read it, because
I literally just plug in there. It's so funny.
It was meant to be, Stephanie.
Totally meant to be.
It's so funny.
Go ahead.
So there's this part in the book where it talks about, right, how to live with an open heart, right? And so it's like living with an open heart means that we can't just close it when we don't want to experience whatever we're experiencing. In order to open to receive like the fullness of life, we have to open our heart and stay open when things don't feel great. And in that, like, can we notice when we're shutting off? Can we notice when we're closing that heart and open it to receive? And being open and receiving is such a feminine trait as well. And I think that that's something that, on a daily, I really try to sit. That's just like a little nugget of something that you can do on the daily, is ask myself, like, how open am I today? Or how closed am I? Because there are some days where I'm just like, Netflix, chill, in my space, and that's okay too, right? But like, how open am I to really experiencing the fullness of this life, right? The good, quote unquote, good, bad, right? Like whatever it is that I'm experiencing.
I love that you brought this up, because what actually, well, of course we were supposed to have this conversation, but what I heard in my meditation for the last couple of days was this word, untethering. It kept coming to me in meditation, which reminded me of the book, which I hadn't read in years, which is why I dug it out. But what I was getting from that word was, you are being asked to disconnect from all the things that you've been sort of looking for certainty in, right? Looking for that, like, this is safe. And just allow yourself to be more expansive and limitless. And, that's also a terrifying feeling, totally. Right? Like, no, these are the things that I'm sure of. But I also have been feeling like this encouragement to untether, to become more vast, more limitless, more open-hearted. Like, it's a very it's a very loving encouragement. Like, we're doing this for you. It's being helped for
totally.
You. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the word untether, right? It's like that. And this is a lot of the work that I do, right? Is unlearning, because there's so much, like, there's just so much that we have to do on a daily basis to unlearn the patterns and the conditioning that, we unconsciously, have been living out of this, get a job, be married, have kids, like this, whatever. And this, or this isn't safe. This is safe. I mean, even my wonderful parents, who I love very much, right? Like, I was definitely encouraged to be in a safe, I'm in the healthcare, right? It's like being and I get that, right? That makes sense to me. And that makes sense. But right, when things make sense, sometimes there's just kind of this underlying, but like, what do you desire? Right. And it's like, but what do you really desire? And that's been coming up for me a lot this week. It's like, what do I actually desire? Because I've gotten to a point in my journey where I can kind of be open to anything, but like, what do I desire? What do I really, really feel the call to? And can I open myself to that while also being like, that might be scary and you can do this, Jessie, right? Like you can do this.
Wait, you froze for a second, but can you hear me now?
We're back. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, totally. I've been around that, like, what is it you're really desiring? I've been on my walks, like just sitting with that of like, can I let go, again, the untethering, can I let go of the details? Can I let go of what I've been taught success looks like? Can I let go of even what I put on my bucket list a month ago? Like, can I let go of it all and just focus on like literally the essence of it, which usually comes down to like simplicity, calm, fun. Like it's not complicated. It's like light, grace, like it's simple. And, you know, when I do that, it's like, then I really stop tying God's hands of like, this is what it needs to look like. And this is what it has to be. And really, I think just become more in that allowing place of receiving, you know?
Yeah, I love that because it's like I can just have this picture of like what did you say there? You said like not tying God's hands, right? That's beautiful. I'm like, yes, because when we put this expectation or this picture on what we expect or what we want to come out of this, then we literally kind of set ourselves up to be closed. Right. And to not receive because we have this idea of this is the way that I want it. This is the way that it should look. Right. This is the way that and ultimately, like, that's not how we can stay in control. Right. That's not something that we can be in control of. What we can be in control of is who we're being. How it ends up looking. Right. That's completely different. But we have to be open to like keeping the mission in mind and being open to how the path opens.
On that note of like who we're being, I'm really finding, and I'm wondering if this is your experience too with your clients, like we've gone beyond just focusing on like just what thoughts we're thinking, like to this place of like what's needed is really just the identity shift, like the true fundamental identity shift. Because what used to help when I was like studying law of attraction 10 years ago and like practicing like positive thought and all these things isn't working now. It's because it's really putting me on that question of like, again, who are you being? Are you believing that you are a powerful woman? Are you believing that you are divine? Are you believing that you are worthy? Are you believing that you're abundant? Like, it's really like, are you, you can read all the books, and I've read all the books. Like this has been a long process of personal growth, spiritual growth, you know, all that. But it's like, it really comes down to like, are you willing to identify as a powerful woman? Because again, back to like that fear of being seen in our power, like when we have money, we're now a more powerful person. When we have, you know, spiritual gifts wide open, we are now a powerful woman. Like we are terrified of that identity up leveling because we no longer can just be small. And, you know, it's safe for me to like read the book. I was just going to show you like my second book. Like it's safe to me to stay here, but read the books. What's really unsafe, you know, what we've been taught is this, like, and I show up as I don't need to learn all this because I am this. I am already abundant. I'm already powerful. I'm already like divine. Really, it's about divinity. Like I'm already God's essence. Like I don't need to learn it anymore. And that place, like, again, that untethering, like that's new territory, right? It's like no longer needs to be learned because we're awake to who we actually are. And we're not believing the old conditioning and the old stories of separation. Like that's a crazy, powerful place. Right.
Totally. And it's one of those things that's, it's so funny. Sometimes I'm like working in my business and I'm trying to, you know, really get my client and I'm just like, but you're already there, you know, and they're like, well, this isn't helpful. And I'm like, and you know, it's just like, well, there's nothing for you to do. Like, well, then what the hell am I paying you for? It's like, but like really get on my level here. Right. Like there's nothing, you know, and when somebody says like, there's nothing for you to do other than accept yourself fully as who you are and know that you've kind of already made it there. It's just something that like we have to really ingrain in our body, because our minds tell us such a different story about like, no, but I need 10K months in order to prove that I'm worthy of that.
Right.
Right. And it's like really kind of moving out of that. As soon as we accept that we don't need 10K months in order to get there, that's when we'll get a 10K month. And so it's like that energy magic, right? That flow and that ability. It's so funny too. Like I had my last group program, and I was like, I had 3 clients in it, but I wanted more. But then I kind of had this moment of just like, this is perfect. This is perfect exactly as it is. Like I'm doing, my life's work. I am in alignment. I'm in integrity. Like everything is great. And it was like within 24 hours, as soon as I kind of hit that awareness of like, I'm fine, I had 4 more signups. I was like, what the hell is that? But that's the journey. It's the journey of being able to say, thank you. Thank you. I surrender. This is great. I'm proud of myself. I don't need more. I don't need that. And then the universe is like, oh, okay, she got that lesson. Here you go. And I'm just like, yep. Okay.
And have that awareness, that like, first of all, that we're even in lack, right? Like that we're aware of like, it's not here yet. It's not here yet. And like, then being able to say like, oh, that is me. My awareness of that is actually what's keeping it from me. And can I just let it go and know that like, that the biggest thing is like that it's being worked on behind the scenes, right? That we are not alone doing this. Like we have a whole spirit team that's like, just give it to us. We'll do it. We'll make it happen. You got to just surrender it. You got to give it up, because we can't come in and take it from you. There is free will. And, for me, it's like, I've just like have always loved, like, I can do it myself. I'm really good. I'm responsible for the whole world. I can make it all happen. And the more I just give it up and say, take this from me, help me with this, make this happen for me. And I just can get, like you were just saying, like to that more chill place of like, it's perfect. Then it's
perfect,
like, boom,
right?
Boom, boom, boom. And it's like, how do I keep forgetting that there's so much more capable than I am of making this happen?
And totally. And I think when we get into those places, right, everything that you were saying is like, I can do this. It's like very masculine energy. Right. And we as women have tried to learn how to be that Misindependent. I can do this as structure. Mm-hmm. And so we go into this masculine overload, and then we forget about the feminine flow, and we forget about the ability to open to receive. And it's not like, it's like we want to remember, we're trying to really balance those two. And that's always part of the work is, where can I balance this, and noticing when I'm too much in my masculine or when I'm maybe too much in my feminine, and learning how to recalibrate, because that Misindependent, I can do this is it's a lack of trust, right? Like, and ultimately when we get down to it, it's like, I'm not trusting that I'm supported. And so really just constantly, and it's like, as coaches and mentors, we're always teaching our clients and anybody who wants to open to listen, how to do that for themselves, right? Because it's, for me, it's like, oh, damn, I'm not trusting that everything is always working out for me. And when I don't trust that, I notice that I move into my hypermasculine energy.
Yeah. I mean, definitely for me, like my response to scarcity has always been make it happen, like always. And, the more I like lean into not making anything happen and just really like literally coming down to my frequency, like literally just prioritizing my mood above all things, my sense of relief be like above all things, life gets better. When that just is at the front and center, it can be that simple. But my ego doesn't usually like to hear that. Like it wants to just give it action. But I've learned so many times that just action from scarcity is always ineffective. It's always, it just doesn't work. It's, it may work, but it's so much more efforting. It's so much more energy draining.
Totally. I think, right. When we come from this place of abundance, of I'm supported, of just kind of that trust, when we come from that place of trust, there's a frequency, right? There's a frequency that we actually get to, and that we actually move into, that's inviting. Right. And, even on like a connection call, there with Alok one time, he was like, there's nothing worse than a desperate salesman, you know? And, I was like, yeah, that's true. Right. And so it's like when you get on your sales calls, or when you're trying to, invite somebody into your space, there's no desperation in it. There can't be this desperation. It has to be completely of service and completely of just kind of this, like, it's meant to be or it's not meant to be. And I trust that. And I think that shift for me in my business has been really helpful too, because, instead of it being like, okay, I really want to get this client so I can help them, so I can really, we can help each other and it's going to be great, beautiful, whatever. And it's just like, no, like now it's kind of like, I'm just totally going to be myself, and whatever comes out of this is exactly what's meant to be. And I trust that, regardless of the experience, that I'm here for it. Yeah. And that has taken away this tiny, like, even underlying edge of like ewiness that comes sometimes with people with sales, that people don't like it. And that it's like, if I'm actually open to receive, that can disappear. If I'm just like,
right,
I'm here for this experience, however it is, however there's no underlying need for me to like have this client or whatever it is. It's just like this actual openness and like desire to, help the world evolve and help humanity really step into this awareness that we are all experiencing the same things together, just in different bodies.
So true. Yeah, that neediness specifically for selling, like that piece is so like, it's easier for us to trust when we're not in survival mode, right? And that survival mode we can go into despite our income bracket, right? Like that can be a fear and a scarcity and lack that's just in us, and we remember it. Like I have a dear friend he's done really, really well in his business, but 20 years ago when he was struggling with addiction, he was homeless. So there's always that fear that kind of kicks up in him, right? Like that he could go back there. And, when whatever we can do to get out of survival mode in that, especially when going into the selling conversations, my God, like whether it's meditation, whether it's like seeking income elsewhere, like sometimes I'll just say it, like coaches, like we have like shame when we're like, oh, I gotta find other ways to support myself. Like, especially newbie coaches, like take the shame out of it. Like you're helping yourself like create something without the pressure of survival mode. Like totally. I need the money. It's got to work. I need it to work. Cause that energy means it can't work. They can't break through that energy field. Even if they want to coach, they can't come in cause you're just like, I need it.
Right.
So whatever can break that feeling of like dependency on that client, like, please, no shame, do it. Like whatever you need to do. Because I didn't really receive that message. And that was really hard for me to break through into that place of like, just being out of survival mode with it. Like, I was always like, I got to make this work. It's got to work,
Yeah. It's actually funny that you say that because I work part-time as an occupational therapist in a hospital, and as well as running my business. And my business has never been more successful in this part. And it's like, I love both of what I'm doing, and I get to let them both be super fun. And I'm not living in this place of like, I need. I'm living in this place of like openness and following my heart. But there has been a lot of work that I've had to do around the idea and the false notion that if you are not full-time in your online business, then you're not committed.
Right.
And like,
thank you for saying that. Yeah.
I want to like literally shatter this belief so hard, because there, it's not a lack of trust in that I could make it. I get to choose how it looks. Right. And I get to choose that cause I also work in like a NICU with babies and doing stuff like that. And it's like, I get to choose that as a part of my experience. And when I don't want that anymore, I can choose not to do that. But like, even, as a coach who is, making good money in her business, and I have this stable consistency as well as this job, like there's nothing wrong with that. And that doesn't mean I'm any more committed to my mission or less committed to my mission than anybody, than somebody who's making 100K months. Like that has no bearing on my amount of dedication to what I'm doing. And actually, in some ways, for me, I feel like it's great. I can make my business about way more than money.
Well
Which it
said.
is.
Yes. And I really
Right.
hope people hear that, because, you know, we have to focus on a relationship with ourselves first, and what can help you feel supported while building a business. And maybe it is part-time job. I know, like, sometimes when I feel like I have the right amount of clients and I like maybe I want some more free space to do more family things, like, then I can lean more into photography, because that's like, you know, 2 days worth of work instead of more, you know? And it's
Totally.
like, it gets to be that way for me. Like, I used to think like, oh, am I doing it right? Like, oh, now I'm going back to photography. Like, again, opportunities to not judge ourselves. Can we see it as we get to choose? We get to see what works for us. It doesn't have to look like everyone else. We all don't want to be Oprah. Like, it's just like, we all can choose what works for us in our lifestyle and our schedule, and success looks different for all of us. And the less pressure we put on ourselves to do it the way other people are doing it, like, I just really feel, especially after COVID, like, your mental health, your emotional health is the
Totally.
most important thing here. Not how many likes we have, not how much money is in our bank. Like, we have to remember, like, especially us light workers, we are highly sensitive beings. We are empaths. We are carrying the weight of the world already. Like, please do what you need to do to take care of yourself while doing your mission, because the pressure can be on ourselves can be so tremendous.
Totally. And I think that really, like, we look at, I can look around at like all of the beliefs that are, you know, there's collective beliefs, there's individual beliefs, there's all of these different things.
Right.
And there's a lot for me, because as an empath, as somebody who's super open, my like keynote theme is like confusion, because I'm just like, I don't freaking know. Like, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm right. You know, and when I get up in my head and my mind and I start to really think about it, I'm just like, well, what is right? And for me, it's been this really untethering, unraveling of the idea that, like, there is no right. Right. There is no right. There is just this openness, this expansiveness that I get to play in. Right. And that's another thing that's been really this year, is like playfulness. It's a playground. You know, this world is a playground for me to really be the best person that I can be. Right. And when I can lean further and further into playfulness, you know, and open that, like, then it's funny. I make more money. I'm happier. Everything is grand, you know, and there is no right or wrong way.
Right. And there will come to a time where it's not so fun anymore. And then it means pivot. And can we trust that? Like, when it's not fun, can we trust that something needs to shift here? I either need to get rid of, like, release something, or I need to simplify something, or I need to do something, because to me, like, the signpost is fun. Is it fun? If it's not fun, it's not working right. Like, we got to change it. And we have to trust that, because that is pure intuitive guidance. And our soul would rather us be like, I don't even know, like, I'm trying to think of like something, like doing something shitty and enjoying it, than doing what we think is expected of us and not enjoying it. Like, our soul wants us to be happy. We came for joy, growth, and freedom. That's what we came for. And if we're off track, like, can we trust ourselves and return back to what feels like that, even if it doesn't look like we think it should look, you know?
Yes. And I think a lot about entrepreneurship, right? Because it's a journey. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I just, personally have been digging into is, I don't want this entrepreneurial journey to look corporate, right? I don't want it to feel this, feel like a 9-to-5 or do this. Like, there's a reason that we're all expanding out into these new ways of being. There's a reason why 9-to-5 is going away. I mean, it's essentially just very difficult to work a 9-to-5 job, like right. on the body and on the soul. But like, ultimately, it's like, there is this feminine flow, back to that can really guide us and into when things are actually right for us. It's so funny, because I've been working a lot with the menstrual cycle. And I do a lot of work with that with my clients. And there's about 10 days a month. And I loathe being online. Like,
totally.
100%. It's like my premenstrual phase and like into my menstrual phase. I'm just like, no, like,
yes.
This is such an inner journey for me. Mm-hmm. And instead of me judging myself now for these, I just have a really awesome follicular and ovulation phase. And I just show up really hard because it feels really good. And then I take that space again. Yay. And then, and so but that works for me,
Yes.
you know? And this is where it's like, we as women need to know about, like, when we talk about feminine energy, when we talk about feminine flow, we need to be looking at our body as our messenger to what we're feeling and how we're showing up. Because now that I've been tracking this for 6 months and really looking at this, I'm like, no, right. I'm not going to force during that time. Like, I'm just not going to do it.
I had one coach years ago. Thank God she said this to me, Carly Fain. She's amazing. And she said to me to pay attention to my cycle and how I want to show up in that. And like, because, and she used, you know, the example of the moon, which I use all the time with my clients too. Like, you know, the moon isn't full all the time, right? It has its phases. It goes dark, it goes middle, it goes bright. And, you know, we are like that. Like, I'm a visibility coach, but I definitely don't want you to be visible all the time. Like, it would be exhausting. It would be unsustainable. We shouldn't be on all the time. We should be able to really like listen to like, how do I feel? And again, those like, you know, posts or videos that are come from inspiration, come from like energy when you feel like showing up in that moment, like those are always the best. And when we force it, when we just do it because we're supposed to, there's an incongruent feeling. And then people don't know what they're feeling, but they don't trust it. And God, I've done too many of those where I just, you know, was like forcing myself because I gotta show up. I gotta be consistent. I gotta do it. And again, was putting undue pressure on myself, and it didn't work. It doesn't work. Then when we have that inspired, we're self-caring, we're being gentle with ourselves, and then inspiration comes and says, say this. It's just different. And
Totally.
again, we're just with just trusting this feminine energy again, like that we can trust that if we slow down and pay attention to our body, that it's going to support us, that it's going to guide us. It's just a quieter way of being than, you know, the way we've been taught to be.
Yeah. Totally. And I love that, you know, the idea of just kind of slowing down and listening, right? And coming from a person who at one point in my life, my motto was I do things fast so I can do more things fast, which cracks me up because that's just like I'm a pretty speedy type person when it comes to things, but it's like, it is in the slowing down that I receive my, you know, most beautiful messages. It is in the slowing down that I can feel that gentle feminine just emerging within me. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that feminine has to feel safe to be here. Right. That feminine has to feel safe to be seen. And, you know, I think one thing just to kind of note with all of this is like, it's a daily practice, you know, it's a daily practice of opening the heart. It's a daily practice of slowing down. It's a daily practice of really listening to what's coming through and what wants to come through. Like, this isn't you know, you read the book, you hear the podcast, whatever, and it happens. Like, for me, for you, for everybody, you know, it's really a daily practice of like leaning into our heart, into our body, and really learning and decoding, right? Decoding all of those things from within us that are giving us those messages. And it's a beautiful journey. It really is.
Yeah. I think, you know, beginning that process of listening to my intuition, which I want to say started like 15 years ago, but like, and it was like random, like started at a workshop of like, what you want me to, what? But like, just beginning that process of there's answers inside, it wants to be given, that I have like an intuitive guidance system that can bring me what, you know, my soul knows my magic. It knows what I'm here to, my gifts to give to the world. It knows how to lead better than I do. It definitely knows the how, the higher perspective better than I do. And the more I can just trust it and lean back and let myself be supported, the better my life looks. And, you know, we have to also be okay that we're going to forget that. Like you said, every day is a practice of it. Right. Like, we're gonna forget it. That's how ego works. It like helps, you know, we believe separation. We believe we're not of God. But when we can just come back to it, oh yeah, I'm safe and I can trust and I'm being guided and I'm supported and I'm held and I'm loved and I'm worthy. When we can just come back to that, like, life gets so much better.
It does. And it feels so much more, you know, it's like, the one thing that people are always craving the most in life is more freedom, right? And that freedom doesn't come from, you know, quitting your job and starting an online business, right? Or your freedom doesn't come from this, breaking up with your boyfriend. And, you know, the freedom comes with that ability to really look at your life as this gift and lean into the subtle pushes and let go of some of this need to do or need to be something, and realize that you already are just as you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, I just saw as you were talking about that, is like the river of life. Like it is moving. It's now moving quicker than ever, and the more we're able to just let go of that rock on the side of the stream, or stop trying to paddle upstream, like the more we just let go, the quicker we get carried to what is more of us, right? The friendships that are like waiting for us, the work that is waiting for us, the clients that are waiting for us, all these beautiful things, that it's really about trusting in the unknown, trusting in the flow, trusting in the force, all that. And
another
it takes
synchronicity.
Courage.
Yeah. Another synchronicity there. I literally was guided to do a meditation in my program last week about trying to swim upstream versus swim downstream. Yeah. And that was a really beautiful thing. But Stephanie, this conversation was epic. I am so excited for anybody who gets their ears on it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you guys want to check Stephanie out, please do. All of her information will be in the show notes. She is epic. Obviously, you can already tell she is divinely guided, and so in her soul mission. So thank you for joining us on this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.